Hey everyone, a very sorry welcome back to the podcast Cancer is a C Word. My name's Andrea, this is my partner Louise.
Hi.
We are here today talking about the aftermath. This is the second episode. The first episode basically covered my story of watching my mum battle cancer and unfortunately in the end lose her battle with cancer, although we say never lost because she fought to the very end. The last episode basically covered my story with her and not in detail my experiences because it's something that I want to touch on in future episodes, but it's basically a quick rundown of Mum's story from her diagnosis up until her passing. So this episode's going to be covering pretty much everything that follows up until the funeral and the wake. So this episode's basically going to cover the aftermath of her passing. Let's get into it, I guess.
So tell me what happened that morning.
That morning, oh, geez, it makes my skin crawl thinking about it. I remember waking up to the sound of the floorboards creaking, which was a very normal sound in my mum's house. But this morning, I actually paid massive attention to it because I knew that that was the sound of my brother getting up and walking into my mum's room to check on her. So the night before, we had obviously said our goodbyes and told her that she could go because she wasn't present anymore. And I just remember walking out of my room, Stuart walking out of my mum's room with his head down and shaking his head as though to say, like, she's not here anymore. And I ran up to him and gave him a hug and we were both crying. And then I, pushed myself away from him to go look at her. And I saw her and pretty much just, well, I don't know, was I screaming? Was I crying? I was just basically screaming, oh, my mom, that's my mom, that's my mom, and like fell to the floor. And
yeah, it was hard.
like seeing her like that was fucked. That was fucked. That was single-handedly the hardest thing I've ever had to experience. And even like thinking back to it now, like I'm like holding my own hand so tight and like squeezing my knuckles because like it's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk about because I can't talk about that without picturing her. And that's something that I struggle with a lot because when I picture her, there were things about her that made me question what her final moments were like.
Yeah.
And the guilt that I have thinking about that by not being in the room with her, like,
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that you struggle with the most, wasn't it? Like you saying that she was on her own and by herself when in reality like that was the case, but obviously she was as comfortable as what she could have been, wasn't it? Like at
yeah.
home. You should say good night as normal, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And from what I've learned through speaking to my therapist and speaking to your friend Emily, who's worked in that sort of, in palliative care before,
Yeah.
I never really understood fully what the drugs that I was giving my mum were for. Like I knew that it was to make her comfortable and stuff like that, but I didn't know that it was
Like really, really heavy, like pain relief, all that sort of stuff. So it's like, do you know when you take diazepam, or like if you've ever had like really strong diazepam or like Xanax or whatever,
yeah.
like you don't have any anxiety, you're relaxed, you're just so that she's as comfortable mentally and physically.
Yeah, so she wouldn't have actually been scared.
No, or even she, like obviously no one knows, but like she could have just been asleep
Yeah.
and not known anything because that's how it was for that whole day.
Yeah. That's what my therapist explained was that like she wouldn't have known because she wouldn't have been like fully capable of
Yeah.
having the fear. It's not that she wasn't present enough to hear us talking.
Yeah.
Like she still would be present to hear us talking and all that kind of stuff, but she wouldn't have been scared,
Yeah.
which is what fucks with me the most. And even through learning that, like it hasn't, like it's helped
Yeah.
sometimes, but sometimes like that, like I don't think that guilt's ever going to go away.
Yeah.
Even though I know like there's no fucking way. Like my mum, when we would like watch TV together, if something cancer related came up, like I would always cry. We would be sitting like in her bed holding hands like we always do, and then something would come on TV, like for example when we were watching Sydney Housewives.
Yeah.
And one of them found out their mum had cancer, and I think that it was pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
And that was like, obviously it wasn't the exact same cancer as my mum's, but in terms of symptoms and everything, like it was very similar. I don't think it was as aggressive, but probably the next closest thing. And like when we were watching that and they were talking about that, like I remember crying and mum was like, don't cry, I'm not dead yet. Like she was still like,
Yeah.
she was still just she never wanted to see me sad. Like, she didn't want me to cry. So I don't think that, like, I really don't think that if mum had even 0.0000001% of like control over her own thoughts, there's no fucking way she would have let me see her die. What, like, as in watch her die.
I think I would be like significantly worried about you had you witnessed that as well.
Knowing what you know now.
Well, just knowing, like, obviously with the aftermath and how much all that stuff has affected you and how
Yeah.
much like certain images affected you, like, I'm just so not glad's the wrong word, but I'm just grateful to a certain extent that you didn't have to experience that because I don't know what that would have done.
Yeah. I think in ways, I think it might have been better for me,
Yeah.
because the issue is the last day, like, mum had the death rattle, right? So she was choking a lot. She would breathe, breathe, breathe. She'd be fine, and then all of a sudden she'd choke and cough heaps, and like we were all sort of like,
Yeah, we were
we would
like, shit.
all sit up to attention and be like, "Fuck, is she about to choke to death? Like, is that what's happening?" Do you know what I mean? So I had that experience the entirety of the last day or two, but especially the last day.
Mm.
And like, because of how I found her, I put two and two together,
Yeah.
and I have assumed that basically quite safely that my mum choked to death.
Yeah.
What I've learnt since, even though I trust what I've learnt,
Yeah.
the guilt overrides that logic. So like, what I've learnt since is that, you know, when people die, they go to the toilet, they vomit, they,
Mm.
you know, like all of their bodily fluids come out. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, things come out, the body essentially empties itself.
Yeah.
I understood that to an extent, but I didn't understand it to that extent. So my brain, even though I'm aware that that's probably, you know, things, the way that I found her after she died, that probably happened after she had died,
Yeah.
rather than that's how she died. But unfortunately, because I wasn't there to see, I've assumed the worst and assumed this big, scary, horrible thing happened to my mum and that she was alone and desperate for someone to be there with her.
Yeah. No, I can understand that.
And like, mum was so strong and so brave, but she never was okay with the fact that she was going to die.
Yeah.
She was always terrified.
Yeah.
Even like the last week of her life, especially like when she started getting delirious and stuff like that, like, it would happen before this anyway, but especially then, she would sit down and she was so confused about what was going on, and she'd be in and out of reality and sort of be like, what the fuck's happening to me? And then would look at me and be like, Andy, I don't want to die. Like, I don't want to die. So having that, you know, image in my head
Yeah.
of her being so scared and alone fucks with me beyond repair. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get past it. I hope that I do. I hope that I do, because I know it's only been, you know, 11 and a half months. I'm by no means into a healing phase. I'm still heavily in the midst of grief.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this feeling over time fades, but I don't know whether or not it does. And that's like really, really scary, and something I'm going to have to either learn to live with or really really have to spend a lot of time and effort and energy into healing,
Yeah.
because it's a feeling that I can't bear having in my heart.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Have you like spoke about that with like your therapist?
I did. I think it may have been my first appointment,
Yeah.
but you know, I was essentially, the way it was broken down to me is that, you know, there's a lot of stuff in your life that happens, not specific to me, but there's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
in people's life that happens where you have to start from the beginning to heal where you're at now. So I've let her know the things that have fucked with me the most, and we did speak about them. And there's, you know, that's where that comfort was offered to me, and I'm so fucking grateful for that. The stuff that she said to me in terms of like, your mum actually wouldn't have wanted you to be there. I can say that safely as a mum myself, and the way I found her likely was what happened after she passed, and that it's more than likely not how she went, and that she actually was in fact comfortable, because that's what those drugs are designed to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She explained everything clinically for me
And give you the fact.
and gave me the facts, because like, that's what I need.
Yeah.
I can't really like, I don't know if this is just how it works, or if she could tell what kind of person I was or whatever, but it worked perfectly for me, because
Yeah.
as you know, I need that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't operate on like the hope of something.
Yeah.
I need to know so that I can at least just know and make peace with the knowing,
Mm-hmm.
rather than being like, oh, you know, it's probably this and probably that. Like, that's not going to work for me. So that was really, really fantastic in that regard, but we haven't really delved too deep into that as of
Yeah.
yet. It has been spoken about, but it hasn't been
Like delved into yet.
fully delved into in terms of finding a way to heal,
Yeah.
because I think that's going to take just a long time.
Oh, for sure. So let me ask, tell me, how did you find obviously letting everyone know what had happened?
Really difficult. Really difficult. Because you have like all of these people that you've been speaking to, when everything started going downhill rapidly,
Yeah.
because it happens fucking rapidly. You have the people that you call, so your normal cycle of people that you actually update every few hours on how she's going and this, that, and the other. So those people were first off the rank. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's who we called straight away.
Yeah.
That was kind of easy because they already knew. You didn't have to explain everything. So then it got to the people that you just knew that you had to tell.
Yeah.
And look, I'll be honest, it's a pretty fucking shit position to be put in.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I personally think it is a shit position to be put in, because you've just lost the biggest part of yourself, the biggest part of your life, and you owe something to other people who also, of course, love that person. But it's really hard to, like, it's shit that you have to think about them immediately because it's the correct and respectful thing to do when you have to deal with all of your emotions of what's just happened.
Yeah, that like must have been quite hard.
It was really difficult. And then you have the guilt with that. There's the guilt with that, because you feel bad, that you feel frustrated with the fact that you have to do it, but you just have to. You as much as it's frustrating, like, I think back on it now and I'm probably more frustrated now about it than I was at the time. At the time, you just sort of go into autopilot.
Yeah.
Like, it was difficult. I'm not saying the autopilot dimmed that, but you go into autopilot and you think, oh, I got to do this. I'm going to send a group text to this many people and I'll call these people. And, like, yeah, it's just, you sort of like, you essentially by the end of it have a script in your head of what you say because you've said it so many times. People say their sorries, they, give words of
Like,
condolences.
what was your like response to it? Because obviously your whole world has just been turned absolutely upside down, and then I don't know, obviously having to console people that are getting upset is, I don't know, it's a bit of a weird, I don't know, dynamic, isn't it? Like, how did that make you feel?
Angry.
Mm.
And this is what I mean when I say selfishly it frustrated me. Like, it made me angry. Like, why am I having to do that? Why do I owe someone that? Like, it's not even that it should be the other way around. It should just be what it is. You let them know, then they should go and deal with it in their own space.
And you deal away with what you need to.
Yeah, like, we had so much to deal with that day. We had the immediate phone calls we had to make. So I had to obviously call, like, my uncle, my godmother, and my mum's other friend Tanya. They were the people who we wanted at the house. I'm pretty certain that we also let the girls next door know
Yeah.
to come say goodbye. So the stuff that we were dealing with that day, on top of having to fucking tell all these people, like, the immediate people, that didn't bother me. I actually wanted to let them know because they're people that had been there throughout the most difficult part. They were offering, do you want food? Do you want us to walk the dogs? Do you want some company? Do you need help with practical stuff around the house? Even though obviously yourself and Eliza were dealing with all that kind of stuff and supporting us in that way, people were still, offering to do that.
Yeah.
And those people, I didn't have a problem because they were part of it. They went through it with us. My godmother had been part of this journey the
Oh, of
whole time.
course, yeah.
Tanya had been part of it the whole time. My uncle came in at the very end, and that's obviously just because of family issues, but he was as supportive as he could have been.
Yeah.
And that was great. I had no like qualms about telling any of them, but telling the rest of the people when I'm also, me and my brother were on the phone to the funeral home saying, hey, so mum passed away, you've got to come get her. And them saying, sure, what time do you want us to come right now? And we're like, no, like, what do you mean right now? Like,
Yeah.
you're going to fucking come to my house right now? No, like, no, absolutely not. So then she was in the house for a few hours, and then, my uncle got there, my godmother got there, Tanya got there, and everyone was crying and giving her kisses on the head, hugging her and all that kind of stuff. And then, like, it got to the point where, we all kind of had to just say, all right, it's time. Let's call them and tell them to come. That was one of the most traumatic parts of all of it.
Yeah.
I think for you, even for me and for you, that's something that you still struggle talking about and thinking about.
Yeah, like obviously we were sat in the other room. It was me and Emma. Like obviously wanting to give you like a bit of privacy. Do you know what I mean? And get like the men doing what they had to do or whatever. But obviously you wanted to carry her out.
Yeah.
So
I didn't want everyone else to carry her.
No, so just I don't know.
It's okay.
I don't know, it was just such like an awful sight. Do you know what I mean? That like I don't know, it was just horrible.
I can see that you're getting a bit emotional, so
Shut up.
I'll talk.
Yeah, it was not obviously like you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, but I don't know, I just felt like I don't know, it just felt like it shouldn't have been happening. Like you were everyone was too young. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or it's not how you imagine. So I don't know. It was just it just felt wrong.
yeah, it did. I never
Like not wrong in a sense like oh you shouldn't have done that, but I mean wrong. Just the whole
the whole thing.
thing was wrong.
Yeah, like I never saw my life at I was 31 at the time. I'm 32 now, but I was 31 at the time. I never saw myself, when I was a kid or even fucking 5 years ago that I'd be carrying my mum out on a stretcher out of my house. And that's the last time that I would ever see her because we knew that we weren't going to do an open coffin or anything like that. Like that was us saying goodbye to our mum. The
Yeah.
last image I have of my mum was getting put in a fucking transit van. They rocked up in a transit van. It wasn't like a nice like funeral home fucking
Yeah.
anything where they put her in anything respectable. She was put in the back of a fucking empty van. Like, and the most traumatic part about that was like Coco, my mum's dog, who was with the neighbors because they've adopted her. But they took her for that last week of mum's life. They knew we needed, some space, and Coco's very attached to my mum. So they took her. But we had let Coco come in to say goodbye to mum because she would obviously smell her and understand that she'd passed away. Like, obviously, dogs understand.
Yeah.
And like, Coco was in fucking bits. She dragged my neighbor out the front of their house and was standing on their veranda while we were down below in our driveway. And she was looking over at my mum's body, yelping and crying. And like, we were crying, and my neighbor was crying, and she was getting put into a fucking van.
Yeah.
And the way that that made me feel, even now thinking about it, like fucking boils my blood. Like, who the fuck? Like, they were great in every other regard, and I don't even know what I expected, but I didn't expect her to go. Like, my last time physically seeing my mum, seeing the fucking door shut in the back of a transit van. What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah.
Like what the fuck? Going back into the house, I just remember the silence,
Mm.
the deafening, deafening silence.
Yeah.
Everyone was so sad. No one really knew anything to say. No one even had the energy to say anything. Everyone was just like,
No one knew what to do. We were
what?
just like, what? What?
Yeah, like what the fuck just happened? You just don't, like, no one really prepares you for the fact that, like, yeah, like there's always this, I guess, this idealistic view on passing away at home rather than in a hospital. And I can definitely see the appeal. I would not have wanted my mum to pass away in a hospital, personally, knowing what her preference was.
Yeah.
And I can see why she would have wanted to be home because that last day when we were all there and we knew and we were swapping Manly stories.
Yeah, and I think it was red wine, wasn't it? All over her carpet.
Oh yeah, and you're like, sorry Gina, and I was like, oh fuck, you're lucky she can't get you because she'd fucking kill you. Man, she didn't even want anyone drinking water in her room. Like, she hated people being in a room because they always fuck up her shit. And do you know what? I have that in me because when people come into my
Yeah,
space,
you do.
I'm like, don't fucking change it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I remember that. But yeah, that last day, like I can see the appeal, but what no one fucking like prepares you for, or at least what I never considered. Maybe people do consider it. I never considered it. I never thought about the fact that you have to like, when you find someone pass away, you have to close their eyes. You have to like me and my brother had to touch mum's eyes and shut her eyelids. And we had to roll up a towel and put it under her jaw so that she didn't, like
Yeah.
have to put her hands by her sides. Like, no one tells you have to do that. And no one explains to you that they're going to just get pulled out of your house
Yeah.
and put in a fucking van or whatever way that other funeral homes do it. They have to put her in some sort of mode of transport, right? So it's going to be either like a van or a truck or a car, but like whatever it is,
No, I
it's
know.
fucking weird.
I think it's just like it just speaks to like the insignificance of it all. It's like, right, okay, you're gonna reduce someone's life to transporting it in the back of a van.
Literally.
It doesn't Mario.
No, like this is the thing, the most valuable thing in the world, and it's
Yeah.
getting yeeted into the back of a van the same way that a 6x4 would if you went to Bunnings because you were building a deck. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? It's just, it's insane. So, like, you know, going inside and having the silence and then replaying everything that happened and wanting to air out her room and not wanting anyone to touch her stuff, but then being like, what do we do now? How soon do we go through her stuff? And like, because we knew that we had to move out. We knew that we had to put the house up for sale. So pretty soon after, even I'm pretty sure that day, there were conversations about plans moving forward because
Yeah.
we had to be considerate of the fact that we were about to sell the house and had to get the property ready for sale, which meant emptying my mum's room. So there was a lot going on emotionally for my brother and myself that day, because it wasn't just the experience of that day. It's fuck, what's coming up? Shit, we need to plan a funeral. Like, and oh my God, the funeral when we went to the church and we were all so anxious and
Oh, yeah.
had to
I
go and
was like,
speak.
why are you smiling?
It's a fucking priest.
I don't know, I know now, but I was
Yeah.
like, why are you smiling?
That guy was the weirdest.
Yeah.
Cracking jokes.
He wasn't the most sympathetic, to say the least.
No, he didn't even say sorry for your loss. He's like, right, so we're planning a funeral for your mum, was it? Like, what?
That is like
What
that lady said earlier. Very Michael Scott.
Very Michael Scott. It's giving Michael Scott. It really is. Man, he was like, if Michael Scott and Mr. Bean had a baby and put him in a priest outfit.
Yeah, that was so strange.
He had like salesman banter. It was weird. It was so weird. There was an overwhelming feeling of trying to decide what to do.
Yeah. And prior to that as well, you also wrapped her coffin. Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
Well, of course you
Fucking
remember, but like,
no, I didn't remember that. I completely forgot about that. So when Mum was still here, I asked her, because I wrap cars for a living. I was like, well, Mum, I can wrap your coffin any way you want it. You don't have to get buried in a boring brown coffin. Like, I
yeah.
can make it special for you. What would you like on it? And she goes, oh, maybe like flowers, or I don't know, mountains, or maybe something by the beach. And it ended up being
All of it
a
was in
field
it.
of
Yeah.
purple flowers, which was her color, like through and through her color. Purple flowers on a mountainside by the beach.
Like when you had that conversation with her, like what was her response? Do you know what I mean? Like
Some
it's a heavy thing to ask someone, isn't it?
She was very much like me though. She would either shut off or talk about it as though it's not what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we spoke about it a few times because I wanted to get like designs done and stuff and have her actually physically approve it. And it got to a point where she actually did get overwhelmed and she was like, Andy, I think I don't really care. Like, I trust you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we don't have to talk about it ever again. I had gotten some concept, some immediate thing that Mum thought, a flower, like flowers, beach, mountainside, whatever, and ended up encapsulating all three of those things in one thing. And it was the most fucking beautiful looking coffin ever. It really was. It was,
Yeah,
man,
it
she
was.
would have loved it. Like, she would have loved it. I'm actually really upset that I'll never be able to see her face, because fuck, man, like, she would have seriously loved it. And like, that felt really good for me, even though it was really hard. I remember when I was wrapping it, just being completely like zoned in.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and I don't know if I remember this correctly, I feel like there was a point where I was wrapping it and tears were just coming down my face.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that or if I'm confusing that memory with filling up vials of her medication, like for the needles. So I don't quite know.
I think it was both.
Yeah, but that felt significant in that I was doing something I knew she would have loved. There was not a shadow of a doubt. So that made me feel really, really good that I was giving her something she would have really loved. I think she would have. Do you?
Yeah.
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 Like, we had Take It to the Limit by the Eagles play.
Yeah, our favorite colors.
On the coffin, yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone wore purple.
Yeah.
The flowers looked beautiful. My best mate did them.
Yeah.
Because she's a florist. Like, my best friend did those and they were fucking beautiful. Mum always loved Lane's flowers. She loved Lane's flowers. And I know she would have fucking loved them. She probably, if she was there, she probably would have picked it all, the whole floral arrangement apart and gave it to everyone in the funeral, because she literally every time she got flowers, she'd give, them away. Like, I remember for Mother's Day, Lane sent her flowers to the hospital. Yeah, she sent her flowers and Mel came and like delivered them and stuff. And I actually have a video of Mum like hobbling over
Yeah.
off her bed, going to give another Georgina
Oh,
that was in
yes.
the room a
Yeah.
flower, and then
Yeah.
another one, because they were all in there on Mother's Day. And she's like, I don't want you guys to feel that you don't have anyone. So happy Mother's Day, like giving them to all the women that were in the room with her.
Bless her.
But yeah, she would have really loved that. And she loved the Beatles. So Here Comes the Sun playing while we, carried her out she would have really loved that. And she would have fucking laughed at the burial. She would have laughed
Oh, yeah.
because of playing Always Look on the Bright Side of Life from Monty Python.
Yeah.
And she loved that song. And like, obviously, because we knew that Mum was going to pass away, we had the ability to have, conversations. And I remember we watched this video. I'm pretty sure it was an Irish guy, actually,
Yeah.
at the burial on the speaker that was
Yeah.
playing music.
I think she actually showed me that
I think
on her
she,
phone.
yeah, I think she did. There's this guy who got buried. Obviously, he knew he was going to die too. So he had this recording being like, hey, boom, 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 boom. Let me out of here.
Yeah.
Why the fuck is it so dark? Like, just to make everyone laugh, because obviously
taking a
he was
piss.
a comical kind of person. So, and Mum was very much like that. We actually discussed doing it. We actually discussed heavily whether or not we were going to do that. And we thought it would probably be too upsetting for some people. So we thought, oh, it's all right.
Yeah.
We can keep this little giggle between us and
Yeah.
imagine it. And like, so when that song played, I knew that she was open to something funny and lighthearted as
Yeah.
a part of her funeral, not just
Yeah.
sad, serious. Do you know what I mean? So picking that
course.
song, she would have loved it.
So how did you feel on the actual day?
Really numb.
Yeah.
Really numb. Like, I put my own clothes on, but you did like my makeup, my hair. Like, I just could not physically do fucking anything. I was like a sim. Imagine playing The Sims but not giving it a task. That was me. I was just there. I was just
Yeah.
sort of standing around, right? And then when we came outside and saw that the hearses were there, or we got told that the hearses had arrived, it was just like insane. Like, I had looked over to my friend Jess, who had all of Mum's balloons in her car.
Yeah.
So I was like digesting the fact that she was there with balloons for my mum's funeral in her car that I could see. And then, my eyes panning a bit to the right and seeing the two funeral cars, like the hearse and the car that we went in. It was just kind of like, right, okay, I guess it's time. Like, let's go. And then I remember getting in the car. None of us spoke the whole way there. Not a word.
Yeah, that was really bad.
We got there and all of us had, I guess, game face on. We sort of just like were walking around, waiting for instructions on when to take Mum's coffin. And then so me, you, my friend Lane, Stuart, his friend Tom, and my uncle, it was the 6 of us carrying her coffin. And that felt like the most important thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It was super significant.
Yeah.
Super significant moment in my life of
That's
just
like,
the final thing that I'm doing for her.
yeah, exactly. That's like, I had to keep checking with you, didn't I? That like, are you sure you want me like to do this? Because it was such a massive, important thing to do.
Yeah, but see, if anyone else tried to do that, I probably would have punched him.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted the people that I wanted.
Yeah.
And everyone whose hands were on her coffin were the only people I would trust with that job.
Yeah.
So that whole day, I didn't feel much, to be honest.
No.
My heart was really broken, but I could not cry. I could not fucking cry. I remember, like, in the morning, we got into the car to get there, right? The one that follows a hearse. It's like the limo or whatever it is that follows a hearse.
Yeah.
We were in there, and then when we got out, I remember just being like, the priest, when we got to the church, the priest was like, so do you want me to talk first, or do you want to give the eulogies first? How do you want to do it? And I was like, well, the fucking eulogies first. I'm not going to sit here and wait. Like, I need to get this done. This is the most, doing your own mother's eulogy, I can't imagine at any age would be easy, but especially when you're fucking 31. Like, it's not something you should be doing.
No.
I'm not a good public speaker. You put me in front of, like in school, I actually failed classes because I refused to do public speaking, to the point that my teachers actually switched up the rules and allowed me to do it one-on-one with just them in a room because I could not do it.
Yeah.
So having to say something so vitally important and you're only ever going to do it once, and you do it as though she's listening even though you know she's not, and it's so overwhelming. So having that and needing to get that done well and speak clearly and not break down and not have to have my brother finish what I'm saying for me and have to carry, you know, me and him both through it was really fucking hard. So I think that something in me emotionally switched off and it just remained off for the day. I was really numb.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, you know, we had the burial and then we had the wake at ours, and it was kind of like it was just a barbecue, which is exactly what mum would have wanted. But for me, in terms of my emotional status, it felt like I was just at a barbecue with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
We were either saying funny stories about mum or just talking shit. It wasn't like anything significantly sad was happening for me, which was like I just switched off.
Did it feel like a party or something?
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah, it did. And it was sort of like, you know, everyone was taking turns at talking to the two main people that were there, which was me and my brother.
Yeah.
So it was like quite overwhelming. And then by the time that all finished and we went to bed, as soon as the bedroom door was shut, not that it needed to be because the house was empty now, I just fucking broke.
Yeah.
I guess in the aftermath of all of it, it's 11 and a half months on and I still feel like I'm in the thick of it. And in fact, I am still in the thick of it.
Yeah, I suppose it's different for everyone, isn't it? Like there's no set time limit, no like rule book on how you should or shouldn't feel like.
And it's not linear. That's the thing that's
No.
hard, is it's not linear. You feel like you're doing better and then one thing happens and you just can go straight into a depression for like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And then you come back out feeling somewhat normal again. It's just so fucking all over the place and so weird.
Yeah.
I hate cancer.
Yeah.
And with that, I think maybe we should end it with a mantra. If you ever so kindly would like to join me in my mum's daily mantra. 1, 2, 3. Fuck off.
I have to say it in an Australian accent.
Fuck off.